Hey everyone, I'm David.
And I'm Ro.
And we have been RVing for over 4 years now. And despite the title of this video, don't get us wrong, we love RVing and we love full-time RVing. However, there are some small annoyances that go along with it, and no one's really talking about it. Everyone's covering the really big problems you can run into while RVing.
And we have been experiencing some very high temperatures where we've been staying, and today the high is actually 94. Luckily it is not that hot yet, but when the heat gets hot, I know that I get grumpy, I know that you get grumpy, I'm sure that many of you do too. And things like small annoyances may feel like large ones. So today we're going to be discussing minor annoyances of RVing. So we had to move immediately into shade because it is a little warm in the sun, which actually leads me to this first point, which can be argued that it's not a minor annoyance, that for some people it can be a major annoyance, and it's that the weather can force you to be trapped inside your RV for one day and possibly a whole week or longer. And we have experienced this many times throughout our years on the road. We've been in Sedona, Arizona, trapped for weeks on end with nonstop rain, making the roads impassable. Here, where we're camping now, we have had some sustained winds that are so strong that we can't even stand outside without being blasted in the face by sand. And now we've been experiencing some really hot weather, meaning that when it gets too hot out, we have to go inside, close up, run the generator, and run the AC all day. And having minor annoyances in regards to weather is bad enough just being trapped inside your RV for a few days. That weather can also cause all sorts of problems with whatever you had scheduled that week, or if you had a breakdown of some sort and you're trapped somewhere because of the weather. There are so many things that can spiral, making just a problem with the weather into a much more major of an issue. But for us, luckily, at least these last few weeks, it's been a very minor annoyance.
Now this next one is sort of dependent on the layout of your RV, as well as sort of how you place things around in your RV. And that is, getting around the bed to be able to crawl into bed comfortably, and also making the bed. Now, we don't have a lot of room in our trailer, so we've had to store things like the cat litter box on this side of the bed, and our rabbit's cage is right on this side of the bed between our wall here and the bed. So we can't go to the side of our bed and then sit on the bed to get on it. We have to climb over the end like this every time we get into the bed. And that can be sort of annoying for people, especially people if they have bad hips or bad knees. Just being able to comfortably get around the bed can be annoying, and having very little space around the bed also makes making the bed a huge pain, and something that we have to do because our bed sheets don't really fit this really thick mattress that we have is we have to use clips to, they kind of go on the underside of the mattress and they clip the fitted sheet and our mattress protector essentially to the mattress so that they won't just pull up constantly in the middle of the night. And getting those clips on, especially the ones all the way in the back, is a huge pain. We basically have to pull the mattress up and climb under the mattress, and I'm holding the mattress up while Ro clips those on. So yeah, making the bed is a pretty big annoyance. Thankfully, we don't have to do it very often, only every time we wash the sheets. And then, yeah, just climbing into bed each night without that room, minor annoyance.
A minor annoyance for me, mostly because I really love cooking, is our refrigerator is very small, and this is our pantry. Tiny. And coming from a house to moving into our RV was quite the shock. We had, a residential sized fridge in our house. It was massive. I could never fill it up fast enough. And our pantry was a walk-in pantry, and it was always full. So downsizing to these two has been quite a challenge over the years. And, because of the small fridge, we have an 8 cubic foot fridge. We have limited food options, and so we can only store certain things. We might have to go to the store a little more often because of the size of our fridge. And I know some of you are probably going to go furiously down in the comments and be like, I have a big fridge. Yes, some bigger RVs, especially luxury style RVs, they have what are known in the RVing industry as residential refrigerators. Now, while they're called residential refrigerators, they are still smaller than a lot of refrigerators that you can get in a house. And so you're still limited a little bit on the space there. And you know, if you have a big residential fridge in your RV, you probably have a pretty big pantry, but I can almost guarantee it's still smaller than what someone might be used to in a house. Now, there are much smaller refrigerators than this, and I'm not gonna let those go unnoticed. We have an 8 cubic foot fridge, and for our size RV, it's actually pretty big. Now, a lot of our refrigerators in our size RV are 6 cubic foot refrigerators, and even in small class Bs, they just have a mini fridge style refrigerator, and holy cow, I don't think I could deal with that small of space.
Now, the next minor annoyance has a little bit to do with food too, and that is that every store layout as you travel across the country is always different. Why is every Walmart Supercenter different? Why is the layout of every Safeway different? Can't they just make them the same? That is another minor annoyance. You know, you walk into a Walmart and you're like, okay, I need some pet food. So you start walking to where you think the pet section is, and nope, it is on the exact opposite side of the store than the Walmarts that you were originally used to. And you know, we've gotten more and more used to this as we've traveled more and more, but when we first hit the road, we were just like, why? Why are they all different? Why can I not find this very simple thing? And it's every single store, every single major chain. None of them have the same store layout or anything really close to the same store layout throughout the entire country, and it gets on my nerves a little bit.
This next minor annoyance is one that I am actually about to deal with here very soon, and I really am dreading it. And you might be able to tell, I kind of need a haircut. My hair's getting a little long here on the sides and in the back, and trying to find a hairstylist, especially for women on the road, can be very, very aggravating. And for David, it's not such a big deal. He actually has a very popular men's haircut right now. It's a standard undercut, so he can basically go anywhere and get a haircut that is very similar to what he currently has.
Some people still manage to mess it up though.
That is true. That is true. But for me, I have it's called an undercut detached pixie, and some people just don't know what that means. No matter how much I show them the different parts of my hair before they cut it, they can still screw it up. So I typically have to find a salon somewhere, and I want to contact that hairstylist ahead of time, make sure that they're comfortable cutting my hair, and even then, even if I spend $50 on a haircut, they still might not get it right. And so not having my hairstylist that I'm used to, either in Washington or in Indiana, is such an annoyance on the road, and I'm really not looking forward to having to get a haircut here soon.
This next minor annoyance pertains to those that typically stay inside of RV parks where you're fairly close to your neighbor, and it is that you can pretty much hear what's going on in your neighbor's RV. Like if they've got the TV on and they're listening to it fairly loud, you can pretty much hear it. Conversations they're having, you can hear it. I mean, the walls of these things just really don't kill the sound at all. And if you've got your windows open, then just forget about it. Everyone can hear everything. And so it's not just you being able to hear your neighbor, which can be especially annoying if they're up a lot later than you, or they get up in the morning a lot earlier than you. You know, it might wake you up or, you know, keep you up. And the flip side of that, though, is that your neighbors can hear everything that's going on inside of your RV too. And so don't talk bad about your neighbors when they're home and you're staying in an RV park. They can hear everything you're saying.
My next minor annoyance is one that is thankfully rectified when we go home to visit family in Indiana, and that is that our favorite restaurants, they're local. And for many of you, I'm sure that you have a favorite local restaurant, whether it's in your hometown or it's somewhere that you really love visiting throughout the year. You know, you have that favorite restaurant that you might go back to every time you visit or every time you go home. Now, that being a minor annoyance is kind of silly, but for many of you that have never traveled before, you may not realize that even if you have a favorite restaurant that's a major chain, let's say like Cracker Barrel, for example, those are not all over the country. And there are many other major chains like that that aren't all over the country. And especially when you're out in the middle of nowhere, you're definitely not gonna find that. You know, we're near a tiny town. There's no Applebee's in this tiny town over here. Like, if Applebee's is your favorite restaurant, you're gonna have to drive to the nearest big city. So despite this being sort of a silly minor annoyance, it is still one that people can get very frustrated with over time when out traveling.
Another minor annoyance with RVing is that you just don't know your way around town. And so what that results in is you have to use GPS for everything. You know, we have to pull up Google Maps to find the hardware store, to find the auto parts store, to find grocery stores. Everything. We're using GPS to get everywhere. And usually though, when we have been in a place for about 2 weeks, we'll start to make that mental map and we won't need GPS to get to certain stores that we've been to a few times or to get back to our RV or campsite, you know, from town or from any like attractions we may be going to. However, right when we've got that mental map starting to form in our minds, we have to leave. We have to leave the area, and we're just, you know, that now that mental map is useless because we'll never be back in that area, and it's just taking up brain space for no reason. And then going along with that too is, you know, you just don't know where the best place to buy things are at near the towns or cities that you're in when traveling. And you know, when you're home, you know the best place to buy whatever, you know who has the best prices and who carries the good stuff, you know, who's got the best quality items. But when you're out, you just don't know. And so that might result in you overpaying for some things or not being able to buy a certain brand of product that you're used to. And the last minor annoyance is when your neighbors are cooking by you. You know, they're out on the grill and they're cooking up something nice and oh, you can just smell it. And now, you know, you're starving. You weren't thinking about food before, but now you can't get food off of your mind. And you had only planned on making like a peanut butter jelly sandwich or something simple like that. But now, nope. You gotta bust the grill out too. You gotta start cooking up some burgers or some brats or something delicious of your own. How annoying. How dare they? No, but this has been all the minor annoyances that with RVing that we could come up with and that we have absolutely experienced while on the road. So that's it for this video. We'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.
Good girl.
Good girl, sweet
Good
pig.
girl. Good girl.
Whoa!
Oh my God.
I thought we were done.